I think I'd like to be remembered as someone who did it my way, and someone who had a lot of fun while doing it. I can remember the first time I drove through the gates as a Notts player at the end of 2011, and just the special feeling that I got driving in here, and I wanted to call this place home for the rest of my career. And 2017. I just think it's a year for anyone who played that season. It's a year that we'll never forget.
So Harry, as we stand here, it's a couple of hours until your announcement of your retirement's going to land. What are your emotions at this point?
It's elements of sadness, but also at my age and having played for the amount of time that I have, it feels like a good time, and I'm really looking forward to life after cricket as well. I'm excited, but have some really fond memories of this place.
Yeah, obviously this is the place where the majority of your county career has been spent. What is it that's made this venue feel like home for so long?
I can remember the first time I drove through the gates as a Notts player at the end of 2011, and just the special feeling that I got driving in here, and I wanted to call this place home for the rest of my career, and I'm fortunate to say I've managed to do that, and I've been here for 10 years now and loved every second of it, and I'll cherish the memories that I made out here.
At that point, you made the move to Notts, I suppose, an important stage of your career to maybe kick on at. What were your ambitions at that point for your cricketing life?
I think I'd had a couple of good years in the T20 for Leicestershire, so I think probably by that point I did have ambitions to play limited overs cricket for England. I think I always knew I wasn't going to be good enough to play Test cricket, but I also very much had an eye on getting into the Championship team here and making my mark in that format of the game as well, because I think at that point, and actually probably even as we sit here today, probably not what I'm renowned for necessarily, but I'm pretty proud of what I managed to achieve in that arena as well.
And as we do sit here with your tally of wickets and the time you spent in the game, how satisfied can you be with what you achieved?
Yeah, very immensely. As I say, to come here as a guy, I'd played a handful of Championship games for Leicestershire and a couple of uni games here and there, but to come here and sort of break into a Division 1 Championship team and to play for quite a few years and take a few wickets and play my part in a few wins, I'm really proud of, and obviously the stuff that I've achieved in white ball cricket as well. I'll cherish those memories forever and be proud forever.
I know we've spoken before about your achievements in your career here with Notts, and with so many of them, is it easy to pick out a particular high point?
Yeah, 2017. I just think it's a year for anyone who played that season. It's a year that we'll never forget. I think it's a real privilege to be paid to play cricket first and foremost, and then to win trophies as well. They're sort of the best days of your life, really. And then on top of that, and probably most importantly, to do that with a bunch of guys who feel like a family and are really close friends, which is certainly what we had in 2017. Very, very special. And we just had so much fun along the way. We were winning games, but we just had so much fun. The changing room was just such a great place to be. And I'll never forget that year, that's for sure.
Yeah, did it make it more special, I suppose, at that stage? Obviously, winning the YB14 2013, but by 2017, you're long established as part of the club. So do those connections make it even more special?
Yeah, I think so, probably. And I just look back at that squad, obviously some unbelievable cricketers, Michael Lum, Chris Reed, Brendan Taylor, James Pattinson, Brody was available a lot that year. But as I say, more importantly, actually, than the ability of the team and the results on the pitch was just the fact that it was such a great bunch of guys in that changing room, and we had so much fun. And we're still reminiscing now. I mean, it's only 4 years on, but I'm sure 40 years on, we'll still reminisce about it.
I know in your farewell statement, if you like, there were quite a few people that you wanted to thank for your cricketing journey, including Mick Newell, who would have been the person who brought you in the first place. How important was he in your Nottinghamshire journey?
Oh, I mean, pivotal. Mick plucked me out of Leicestershire, really, and backed me. And I think, Mull and Fletch always make jokes that they couldn't believe that Mick had signed me. And I think there probably were a few people around the country maybe at the time thought that, okay, that's an interesting signing. But for Mick to pick me and back me the way he did has changed my life, really, because I've gone on to play for 10 years in this amazing arena and go on to achieve one or two other things as well around the world in the game. And had he not backed me at that early stage, I wouldn't have done any of that. And Mick lives and breathes this club. He's a really great man. I've been on the receiving end of a couple of his famous hairdryer post-match sprays, but even despite those, and at the time that I never lost respect for him as a leader, as a coach, and as a bloke.
Another of the leaders who's been in this dressing room or the downstairs dressing room with you is Dan Christian, captain for so many of those years in the Blast. What was he like to work under as a tactician, I suppose, and as a motivating man?
Yeah, I mean, Dan will be a friend for life. I must have done something early on in his time at Nottinghamshire that impressed him, because he's just, since he first arrived here, really backed me, but not only backed me privately, he's done it publicly as well. There was a night up at Headingley, we had a T20 game up there, and it was the last group game. The winner went through to the quarters, so it was a huge game on Sky, and I remember Dan saying at the toss, Harry's the best death bowler in the world, and probably the majority of the people sat at home probably laughed at that comment. The commentators certainly had a bit of fun with it that night. But then I bowled the last over that night, went for 2 runs off the bat, bowling at Kane, Williamson and Brezzy. And it wasn't on purpose, but the fact that Dan had made those comments on that night, I then bowled well, it was televised, it was a big game. From that point onwards, I broke into the franchise scene. So just so grateful for Dan's backing, not only on occasions like that, but also I think over the last 2 or 3 years with list managers and coaches of various teams around the world, he's pushed my case and got me through the door. And yeah, he's a friend for life, and I'll always be grateful.
And latterly here at Trent Bridge and on the England scene, in fairness, it was Peter Moores who was head coach. What did he do for your game and I suppose your all-round cricketing career?
Yeah, so Pete was the England coach that picked me for the first time. It was Ashley Giles was the coach when I first got selected for a squad, but I never played under Gilo. Pete came in, gave me my debut. In fact, I played all my games under Pete. There was one particular game, we had a T20 at Edgbaston against India, and I'd only played 1 or 2 of the ODIs leading up to that T20, and I felt really good. I was bowling really well in the nets. I felt prepped, and I'll never forget at Edgbaston that day, all the lads went back to the hotel and Pete was still in the office. There's a big glass-walled office behind the changing room at Edgbaston, and I knocked on the door and went in and just said, look, you've got to play me tomorrow. I'm ready. I feel confident. I know I'm going to perform. And I don't know to this day, actually, I've never asked him whether they were going to pick me anyway, but they did. And that was my best game in an England shirt. I managed to close out the game bowling at Rayner and Dhoni, and that is one of the best days of my life, and I'll never forget that. And it was Pete that picked me as coach, and then latterly came in here at Nottinghamshire and was presided over that 2017 season. And I think when Morsey came on board here, we were a bit of a dour, cynical, maybe slightly stale dressing room, and Pete has a real contagious enthusiasm and passion for the game, and he was just what we needed, and he really came in and galvanised the group, and was a major reason why we won those trophies, and no one can ever take those away from us.
And now you, I suppose you make the move from player out here in the middle to supporter, surely hopefully at some point watching on for Notts and the Outlaws in the years to come. How do you feel the group is set up for success in all formats in the years to come?
Yeah, well, firstly, I can't wait to come back and sit in here, maybe up in Restaurant 6 with a glass of wine this time rather than a cricket ball in my hand. In fact, Nashi and I are already planning it. But the squad now on paper, I mean, it's a superb squad on paper. We've got a great record in white ball cricket over the last few years, but I think now in the Championship we're starting to turn a corner. I think these 2 wins have been really great for the group and hopefully a big boost for everybody. My one passing sort of my message as I depart this group probably would be to just make sure you enjoy it. It's a really talented group of cricketers, and if they can have some fun along the way, that is what helps you to win trophies. I think being a cohesive unit in that changing room. So if they can have some real fun and continue performing like they have done the last couple of weeks, they can have a lot of success.
And after the best part of a decade here at Trent Bridge, hundreds of wickets, those 3 trophies as well. How would you like to be remembered, do you think, for your exploits on this ground?
I think I'd like to be remembered as someone who did it my way, and someone who had a lot of fun while doing it.
Well, it's been a pleasure to watch you out here. Best of luck with everything for the future.
Thanks, Matt.